What's up? Welcome back to the 710 Performance YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about getting a lease and why it's so important that you look over your lease. As most of you may know, we've been looking for a building in Missouri. That way we can move out there, be closer to our house, actually pay less per square foot so we can get a larger building for the same amount of rent that we're paying here in Denver. We have it narrowed down to a couple of buildings, but we received a lease from one of the buildings that we were liking, and we wanted to kind of look over the lease, and we were actually really looking at signing it and doing a deposit today. Well, in going over this lease, we realized that it would be the absolute best content for the show completely. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into that right now. So we wanted to move in on August 1st. After calling City Hall and talking to them in Palmyra, we found out that they didn't know if the inspection would be done and the certificate of occupancy would be available by August 1st. So we went ahead and talked to the landlord, and he said, hey, we can set it up for August 1st or September 1st, just in case for some reason it's not available August 1st and they don't get the certificate of occupancy. So based on that, now he had sent this lease over, I think, before we spoke about that. So that change is not necessarily going to be in here. But when we originally spoke with him, he knew we wanted to move in on August 1st. So with him knowing that, this is the act, and knowing that there's a possibility that the building may not be ready by August 1st, this was the lease that he chose to send us. And this is why it's very important that you look over your lease. So basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to go over some very important things. So they talk about what the building means, what additional rents mean, and then what the common area facilities are, such as the parking lot and such like that. What the leasable area is, so basically what our square foot is going to be. And this just breaks down, if you've ever looked at a lease, this just breaks down the definitions of all of the words. Leasable area, what that means, premises, what that means pertaining to this lease, proportionate share, what that means, and rent. So leased premises. Now it says the landlord agrees to rent to the tenant the industrial premises located right here on Short Street, and including the east panel and the east wall of the building and 0 feet of the west of the building where the concrete ends, not including the lot next door. The tenant agrees to keep the area. The terms. The term of the lease commences on August 1st, which we talked about. Now again, it could be August 1st or September 1st. It does say subject to date reserved, so it could be September 1st, but it does say this: non-refundable deposit will hold the building for 30 days. So basically, we were going to be doing the deposit on, I think it was the 5th of July is when this was based upon, was the 5th of July. So we were going to do the deposit. It would hold the building until August 5th. But it says the total deposit due will be $3,000. So the deposit and then the first month. So there's $3,000. And then that would be due in the 2 increments, $1,500 on the day we sign the lease to hold the building, $15 due a week before we move in on August 1st. It says when the total deposit is paid, construction of the addition will start. No, we have to have that building ready to go by the 1st of August. Now he was basically trying to have us start rent August 1st, but if we didn't get the certificate of occupancy to move in until September, then we would just have to basically wait and still be paying the rent, is the way this is written out. Also, a non-refundable deposit will hold the building for 30 days. So in other words, if August 1st came and the building was not ready and we chose to, or August 5th or whatever came, and we chose to move or to not take the building, we could actually lose our deposit and he would still retain the deposit even though the building was not ready to go. So basically, he could drag his feet and still take our money. And then of course, obviously his feet would be dragged because we would have to pay the final $1,500 a week before move-in, but he wouldn't even start construction, which is going to take longer than a week, and to get approved by the county. He wouldn't even start that till we actually finish the $3,000. It says where the rent's payable. If we're late, it's $100 a day, which we thought was kind of high, but we don't know Missouri's full laws on that yet. Operating costs, never have I ever seen this. Operating costs, where basically in addition to the rent, you'll be paying an operating cost that pays for maintaining, repairing, and replacing or insuring the building. I believe that all should be covered in the rent cost, but they want to charge extra for any of that. It says that they won't include like increase in insurance premiums, the cost of any capital replacement, the cost incurred or accrued due for the willful or neglect of the landlord or anyone acting on behalf of the landlord. So if he goes in there and tears stuff up and because he's mad or something like that, we wouldn't be responsible for that. And then it would all be done off of a landlord's estimate. Distress. Okay. If and whenever the tenant is in default in payment of any money, whether hereby expressly reserved or deemed as rent or any part of the rent, such as what they were talking about earlier with additional rent, the landlord may, without notice or any form of legal process, enter upon the premises and seize, remove, and sell the tenant's goods, chattels, and equipment from the premises, or seize, remove, and sell any goods, chattels, and equipment at any place to which the tenant or any other person may have removed them, in the same manner as if they had remained and been distrained upon the premises, notwithstanding any rule of law or equity to the contrary, and the tenant hereby waives and renounces the benefit of any present or future statute or law or eliminating the landlord's rights of distress. Basically, it's saying that if you fall behind on rent, they can go in, they can take anything that they feel of value, sell it. You have no rights to them doing that. And if you're $1,000, $1,500 behind on rent and they want to go sell $3,000 or $5,000 oven that you own, they can do that. They can keep all of the money and you can't go after them for it. I cannot believe that somebody actually tried to put this in the lease. Now, we let him know that there's some things that we don't like and that we were removing them, and that we would send the lease that we approved of back over to him and his legal team so they can go ahead and read over it, and if they okay it, then we'll go ahead and proceed. If they want to make changes, they will make those changes. We will then go back over it and see if there's anything that we just don't agree to. But that's one thing right there, and please let us know in the comments below, have you ever signed a lease or seen that in a commercial lease? Because I will tell you what, I have never seen that, and I don't believe it's right too, because it's saying that if there's a law that's saying that they can't do it, well, this even overwrites that. Now, if you abandon something, and they talk about this later in the lease, if you abandon something and you're not there, or somebody is not there for over 60 days, they didn't have a disclosed time, so I added 60 days to it, then it's considered abandoned, and I can understand that, and they can take it and do whatever they choose. That's fine, but they're trying to say that if you fall behind on rent, they get the same thing as if you abandoned it. It's basically theirs to do with what they want, and you should never get tricked into that. I could not believe it. That's one of the main reasons that we wanted to make this video, is because this is probably the craziest thing that I have ever seen in a lease, and I've never seen it in a lease. This is the first time. That just doesn't make sense. Tell us what you think in the comments below. The biggest point of this video, it's crazy what people will try and do. You really need to kind of pay attention. If you can't look over, or you don't understand looking over a lease, or it's just too much for you, you definitely want to consider paying legal counsel, because they'd point these things out and say, hey, this is basically what's going on. If this or this or this happens, then they can do this or this. Believe me, I'm not giving you legal advice. The only advice I'm giving you is to read your lease, or get legal advice and read it before you sign it. I really think that this gentleman thought we were just going to sign it and jump into it, that we were ready to roll, and that maybe we wouldn't take a look at it. I don't know, because he told me that it was just a basic lease, but when you look at it, it wasn't just a basic lease. And to be honest with you, he didn't even go through filling in our business information at the lower part of the lease, where it says what type of work that we can do there, that we will be basically working as 710 performance, and that any type of work we do, we got to keep it to that type of work, whatever it is. But it didn't even have 710 performance written in there. It had another Starkey Auto or something like that. So I don't know if this is a lease that they pulled off the internet. Maybe they didn't read all the way through it. I don't know. Or maybe it was an old lease that they used. But the other thing, like, okay, he said that he was going to send it to his legal team after I made the changes. Well, if you have a legal team, wouldn't your legal team know that we're not Starkey's Auto? So I guess that's kind of where I'm at. Is I don't know if it was an accident, if they didn't know that some of these terms were in this lease. I don't know, but I definitely made the changes. Here's another thing: is don't be afraid to let the landlord know what changes you want to make. The worst they're going to do is tell you no. But if there is a stipulation that you don't feel comfortable with, and he won't word it or phrase it in a way that you feel comfortable with, or just delete it, then don't get that lease. Because if that's something that you're thinking about or bothering you, then don't get it. This gentleman basically had told us that he was going to have the building ready by August 1st, but at the bottom of the lease, it says that any promises that is not made in the lease that they don't have to stick to. So if he would have told us and promised us that it'll be done by August 1st, but we didn't have it actually written into the lease, we really kind of have no course of action to go back to him anytime after August and say, yo, you said this. Well, it wasn't in the lease. That's why we're making sure that it's in the lease. It says that the non-refundable deposit will hold the building for 30 days. I understand about a landlord having a non-refundable deposit, and I don't have a problem with that. But what we specified in there is that it's not 30 days, it's up to 30 days after the certificate of occupancy is issued to the building. So in other words, if we would have done this on July 5th and come August 5th, or 6th, the building was still not ready, we would not be able to get our $1,500 back. That's why we wanted to make sure that we had some sort of recourse to get our $1,500 back. You can have a non-refundable deposit, but you can't basically, if you would have drug your feet and screwed us out of moving in and we decided to change our mind, then you would have kept the money, and you shouldn't get that. Basically, if you wanted to drag your feet, you're getting a free $1,500. And to me, that's not right. If we want to back out because the building's not done, we have the right to get our money back because the building's not done in the allotted time that he said. We have the right to get our money back. So we wanted to make sure of that. So again, just to reiterate, read your lease. I hope that this was some valuable information for you. I know it wasn't exactly about powder coating, but it's about the business of powder coating, and I know a lot of you are wanting to get into your first building, so this is just something you got to make sure you remember to check out. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't subscribed to the channel already. Now go ahead and smash that like button and help us with the YouTube algorithm. We'll check you out tomorrow. Peace.